Hi everyone, it's Marissa from bumblebeeapothecary.com, and today I'm going to show you how I make milk kefir. I have a video that I made a while back showing how I make kefir, and I have a few others on different ways to culture cream. I'll link some of those down below. I wanted to do a brand new updated version of how I make milk kefir, just to share some more tips and tricks and answer some more questions and just make it really comprehensive and hopefully really helpful. So let's jump into it. Let's start by just going through the process of making kefir, and then I'm going to talk some more about some things that you want to know, some real good things to know about kefir and its benefits and all that good stuff. But let's just start with what I do every day or every couple days, depending on the temperature of the room or the amount that I'm making and all that. We'll get into those details in a little bit, but just what I do on a regular basis here. So back here you can see under this towel is where I keep my kefir when it's culturing. So kefir is one of those ferments that likes to be in the dark, so that's why I cover it with a towel. And every time it needs it, I go ahead and just strain the milk kefir grains out and then put them into new jars of milk. So how do I know when it needs to be strained? So you will see this one right here, this jar here, is a little bit more of the ideal stage, where you can see the whey line starting to break in just a few little places, so that you know that it's cultured enough to where it's really nice and thick. This one has gone a little bit further. There must be a bit more kefir grains in this jar, and you can see at the bottom how there's a big section of whey that's already separated. This is a little bit farther along than is ideal. It's not a problem by any means, and they've both turned out great. It's not like a failure or anything. If you're being really specific about it, this stage is really nice when it's cultured nice and thick, but it's not gone so far that the whey is separating out so much. But like I said, no big deal at all if that does happen. You can just stir the whey right back in and have that in the finished kefir, or you can pour it off and use it for another use. There's a lot of great uses for kefir whey, including making a vegetable medley, which is a fantastic fermented vegetable. I'll link that video below if you'd like to check that one out. But anyway, back to the kefir. So how long does it take for it to culture? So that depends on a couple things. It depends on the temperature of your room. The warmer that your room temperature is, the faster that kefir is going to culture. The little friendly microbes are just a lot more active the warmer the temperature. And then the cooler that the room is, the longer it will take. So usually in the winter, cooler months, early spring, late fall, that time, my house is, let's see, in the kitchen. Kitchen is usually around 70 degrees, maybe a little bit cooler at night. And for a big jar like this, half gallon, I usually will strain those out in the winter every 2 hours. I think that the reason why this one cultured a little quicker on me is because I had the oven on most of the day. I had a big ham in there, a fresh ham roast, which I also have that recipe on my YouTube channel if you're interested. But anyway, I had that going for a lot of the day in the oven, and so that kept my kitchen a bit warmer than usual, so that's why that one cultured more quickly. But usually every other day, I do either 1 or 2 half-gallon jars at a time, and for a half-gallon jar, I will usually add 1 to 2 tablespoons of active kefir grains. If you're looking for kefir grains, there are a couple ways that you can get them. If you know of your local Weston A. Price Foundation chapter in your area, you can find the leader of that and ask if they know of anybody who has extra grains. The thing about healthy kefir grains is that they multiply all the time, so you always have lots of them to get rid of on a regular basis. I will usually give our extra ones to our chickens. My kids actually also like to eat them too, or sometimes I'll give them to somebody. I'll put a link down below where you can look up your closest Weston A. Price Foundation chapter and get in contact with the chapter leader. I really recommend finding that for a lot of different reasons. Very helpful people to know. And then if that's not possible, you might look on Facebook. If there's a group of people near you that is into culturing and things like that, you might be able to find someone there. And then also I'll have a link down below where you can get some on Amazon too. I've actually tried them and they're really, really nice. I thought that I was really impressed with them. They come already activated, so you can just use them right away. They're not dehydrated where you have to activate them with milk for a while and all that kind of thing, so I thought that was nice. If you do get kefir grains from somewhere that do need to be activated, you want to just make sure that you follow the directions that come with them. They do tell you to use pasteurized milk at first for a reason. They don't want the microbes from the raw milk to take over and influence when you're trying to get the kefir grains going. That's just why, so just follow that, and then pretty soon once they're working well you'll be able to switch to your nice beautiful raw milk. Anyway, so that's a bit about how you know when it's ready to strain. In the summer months when it's a lot warmer, I will usually strain it every day. So when I strain it, I actually have a really time-saving hack here that I really like to do. The grains, the kefir grains themselves, which by the way, they're not grains like wheat or something. They're actually a type of SCOBY, which stands for Symbiotic Colony of Bacteria and Yeast. So that's what they are, it's just little symbiotic colonies. They like to sit kind of up in the top of the culture. And so I find that if I do this, just pour off and scrape out the section, it's kind of like the cream that has risen to the top of the nice raw milk. I just scrape all that off. The more that you do it, the better feel you get for exactly how much that you need to take off, but I don't strain the whole jar through. I take off about that much, and that's primarily where all the little kefir grains are, so it really saves a lot of time over having to strain that whole entire jar through. And then I just stir them around here. And I also want, before I get too far into this, I want to have my other jars opened up so I can easily put my kefir grains into them. But I just stir them around. Now, a lot of people say you shouldn't use metal with milk kefir because the grains don't like it. I've heard mixed things. I hear some people say, it doesn't matter. They use metal and there's no problem. I started off following the advice of not using metal with my kefir grains, and I've just continued with that. I have this plastic strainer and then a wooden spoon, and I just, you know, it works. It's not a problem. It doesn't make anything harder, so I just do that. I guess I have more like, this is probably more like 3 tablespoons, which is a bit on the high side. You don't need this many grains. I should probably get rid of some of these pretty soon because I'm getting kind of a lot. But there they are. The little kefir grains, nice and happy, healthy. So I would say for best results, probably avoid metal, but like I said, I've heard of other people who don't worry about it and they say it's fine. So I have jars kind of that I keep in rotation here for making kefir. These are the ones that were just on the counter culturing. These are ones that are actually empty, that were in the refrigerator. So for a while I'll keep just reusing these same jars without washing them, because when the kefir culture is like clinging to the insides of the jars, it helps the next batch culture more quickly. It's not necessary, but it is kind of nice to have it just be a nice strong quick culture like that. So I'll keep them like that for a little while, and then when I start to feel like, oh, it's getting a little nasty, I want to start with a fresh clean jar, then I'll just wash them and start with clean jars again. So I just kind of keep an eye on it and do what I feel comfortable with. I would say I probably let them go for maybe a week, 2 weeks maybe, before I switch them out and wash them. So when I've strained these out, I just put them into the next jar that I'm going to do. Put them right in there. And then scrape some of that off a little bit. And then what I'll do is I have this jar that I poured this off of, and then all I do is just add this back. So now I have kefir without the grains in it. And that's ready to drink. We like to drink it straight. We like to blend it with some berries. Eat it with a little bit of raw local honey drizzled on it. It is fantastic. So then I'll just repeat the same thing with my second jar. This is the amount of kefir that we use. We go through this. In my family, we pretty much culture all of our raw milk that we get with kefir at this point. It's just, we all really like it. It has really great benefits for people's needs right now, and so we make a gallon every couple days, or a half gallon every day, depending on the weather. But the nice thing about it is that you can make whatever amount that you need at a time. You just want to make sure to keep a good ratio of the amount of kefir grains to the amount of milk that you're using. If you have too many grains, it'll culture a bit too quickly. And then if you don't have enough, it'll take longer. But like a tablespoon per quart, I think is a good rule of thumb. And then depending on how much kefir you want to make and how much raw milk you have available each week, then everybody can come up with an amount that works for them. Basically, you want to have it so that you're doing the right amount where you can strain them every 1 to 2 days, depending on your temperature, the weather, the time of year, all that. And then whatever amount that works out, then that's great. Okay, and then I'm just gonna add this back to its jar. So then these 2 jars are my finished strained kefir that will now be able to have lids and go into the refrigerator for us to use. And then these 2 jars that have the grains in them now get new milk added to them. I just use it straight out of the refrigerator, and that's always worked great for me. So I just pour it right in there on top of the grains. I do leave a bit of head space because it expands as they culture. So I kind of go up to the shoulder and not really any higher than that. And then let's talk about whether or not to put a lid on it while it's culturing. So with kefir, one of the very nice things about milk kefir is the wide variety and large amount of beneficial bacteria and beneficial yeasts that are in it. And the thing about yeasts, when they're culturing, they really like air. So since we do want to encourage lots of those healthy beneficial yeasts in our kefir, especially if you're on the GAPS diet, or even if you're not on the GAPS diet and you're just wanting a really healthy digestive system, and that's one of the big reasons you're having kefir, then it is really nice to encourage that yeast, those beneficial yeasts, to grow in there. So when I have it on the counter, I just cover it with a towel, so that does a couple things. It covers it so that you don't get dust and bugs and whatnot in there. It also keeps it more in the dark, which kefir likes, and then it lets it be covered to keep it safe and clean and everything, but still lets air flow, which makes the yeasts happy. So that is my process. It's pretty simple, just straining out that top portion that has the grains in it, putting them into new milk and putting them back on the counter. Very fast and easy. And let's talk about the differences between kefir and yogurt. I, right now, am pretty much just making kefir. I haven't really been making yogurt on a regular basis for a while, and that's just what I choose to do because I only have so much time for so many ferments, and I want to put my time and energy to where things are going to be the most beneficial and effective for our health. So yogurt is really nice. It's a very mild cultured dairy product. It's really great for people who are starting with cultured dairy products and their gut is not quite ready for kefir. Yogurt has really nice beneficial bacteria strains. It has a few yeast strains, but not nearly as many beneficial bacteria and yeast as kefir does. Kefir is really, really nice. It's one of the things that's really wonderful about it is that it has lots of beneficial bacteria and lots of beneficial yeast. So lots of people who need to do some gut healing and detox and things like that, or just honestly a lot of people just in general these days have yeast issues, and those can show up in so many different ways. We won't really get into that right now, but one of the best things that you can do to overcome any kind of yeast issue that you're dealing with in your body is to combat it with good yeast, and milk kefir is one of the best ways to do that. So you can do it with a whole milk like I've done here. You can also use kefir to culture some cream and enjoy it that way. I plan to do another updated video on how I culture cream different ways, so be watching for that if you're interested. But that's what I'm doing. I'm just making lots and lots of milk kefir. I like it because it cultures at room temperature. It's super easy to keep up with and maintain and make, and you don't have to have separate equipment like a yogurt maker or anything. So I really like that about it. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed seeing how I make milk kefir and all my little tips and tricks and things that I shared, how to make it just really fast and easy and doable and fit into a busy life. Be sure and check out that description box for links that I mentioned, links to how you can find your local Weston A. Price foundation chapter, where you can get your own kefir grains online quickly and conveniently, and then the other related videos that I mentioned, like culturing cream and making the vegetable medley with kefir whey. If you have any questions, leave me a comment down below. Also let me know what videos you'd like me to make. Always love getting requests from you guys. And if you did like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with anybody else who you think would like to see it and find it helpful. And if you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I get out 2 new videos every week on nourishing recipes and natural living. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.